Okay, why this case is so important. With the death of Justice Scalia, you have now the possibility that President Obama's appointment to the U.S. Supreme Court may get delayed, and this is politics. I don't claim to be a politician, and the politician that I talk with that's about tells me politics at every level is a full contact sport, so I'm not going to get into the merits of who appoints the justices. I will say, though, it's possible this vacancy could stand on the Supreme Court, and at least according to statisticians who've opined on the topic, it's entirely possible the next president could make as many as 4 U.S. Supreme Court appointments. So the relatively newness of interpreting what the Second Amendment means started in 2008 and said it's an individual right. That's the Heller case. By the way, if you ever get a chance to meet Dick Heller, you'll understand how that case got as far as it did. It's something he truly believes into his core, and if you're ever in D.C. or have a chance to look him up and buy him dinner, he's a treasure trove of Second Amendment law, whatever your position is on it. Getting back from that segue, the real development of the Second Amendment came on the heels of Heller on the similar ban Chicago had on handguns, and the city of McDonald versus Chicago, and I may have that flip-flopped, in 2010 said it applies, that individual right to keep and bear arms applies to individuals through the 14th Amendment in all the states. Now we have the first time the Second Amendment's been directly addressed head-on. I've indicated for you in these materials where it's been hit in dicta, which was a case in 1876 that talks about the Second Amendment exists to keep government from prohibiting individuals from exercising their natural law right to self-preservation, including the use of firearms or the right to use deadly force. That's an 1876 case. It wasn't until 2008 and 2010, respectively, that you have the U.S. Supreme Court chiming in on the Second Amendment being an individual right that applies to individuals, i.e., can the city of Chicago and D.C. ban handguns from individual possession, or is it a collective right that's reserved to the military? Those are the two cases that are key, and I want to, before I jump into Vizoin, I want to take just a brief stab at Castleman because it essentially addresses what is up in part in the Vizoin case, which is now the Castleman case has said not only is the fact that federal law prohibits someone convicted of a crime of domestic violence from possessing firearms for life, the Castleman case, as it's been applied and interpreted, would say even if, as a defense lawyer, you plead your client to battery and not domestic battery, if the underlying fact pattern shows a domestic relationship of certain types, that person can still be barred from life. That's indirectly one of the issues the Vizoin case is raising, but with the death of Anthony Scalia in mid-February, who authored the Heller case, you have a historic moment, which is Justice Thomas has been on the bench for 10 years without asking a single question of the oral arguments in the Supreme Court before him. He chimed up about the possibility of this particular case impacting the Second Amendment right. So for those of you on whatever side of your equation in the gun world, both for, against, or as your clients are related, monitoring this case and how the Supreme Court is filled both in the present vacancy and going forward, is probably going to signify the most defining moments of our legal careers as to what the Second Amendment means. Is it an individual right? Is it a collective right? Can you ban an entire class of firearms? Scalia would say you read the Constitution and you can't. I think on his heels, Thomas was sort of indicating the same thing, and that's why I wanted to point out to you the two direct Second Amendment cases on point and the possibility of this new U.S. Supreme Court case being two landmark signals in our society, which is, could there be a shift in the view of what the Second Amendment means? And secondly, is it possible that all these individuals that have battery convictions that you can show in the underlying fact pattern have a domestic element can be barred from a fundamental right for the rest of their life? And I would really encourage you to look at those cases. They're very complex. They have some arcane legal issues that are argued and brought up, but they're ones that are nevertheless the cutting edge of gun law sitting here today speaking with you.